Welcome to the Breathing Edge podcast. Today, we're going to talk about breathing with your kids.
Has anyone out there got kids? Or maybe you have a little kid inside you.
Or know somebody who has kids.
Yeah. Everyone's got a little kid inside them, so I think that this is going to be relevant for you.
Absolutely. Now, where do we start with breathing with children? I think we started with trying to force them to breathe and move their energy on. And what we found is we are naturally wired for resistance, and they were taking that as a punishment.
Yeah, well, you think about it. I mean, when I first got into the breathing, and then I was telling Angie about the breathing, her little kid wanted to resist it as well. So it's, as Angie mentioned, we did try it the wrong way first. And what we found was what worked. There's two things that worked. The first thing was play.
Yes.
It has to be fun. You have to play with it. You make up stories about it. You make up games. You blow balls around with straws. You do all sorts of things that will get them breathing initially. The second thing, and you can grab a pen and write this down. You're grabbing a pen. If you're driving, don't worry about it.
Make a mental note.
But here is a golden rule for parenting. You take care of your own shit, and the rest of the stuff will follow. And what I mean by that is the thing that worked about getting our girls to start breathing was that they watched us do it.
Yeah.
We were taking care of our own stuff. We were breathing ourselves. We were shifting our behaviors. We were shifting energy. What I found that was really, really great for me was that when I'd start to get angry, if Eve was doing something that I didn't want her to do, or she was being like I was, that was the thing that made me angry. She was doing things her way. So was Lila. They both do the things the way they want to do it, and that makes me angry. So what I found was I started to train myself to take a deep belly breath right at the moment when I felt the anger coming up, and even to the point where I just sit down and start breathing. And the girls would be like, well, what's going on? And Angie, you've got a similar story about
curiosity. It's a very powerful tool, and it's a great place to start. And what started with me was I was getting so frustrated. I found myself pulling myself away from them because I was so frustrated, thinking that I had no tools to help them. They were look, they're 5 and they're 8, and they are our children. They are thoroughbreds, and they're definitely a product of us.
I want to come in here because I want everyone out there to hear this, because this is something that really that got me, and was that pulling yourself away from them, I found myself taking my love away from my kids because I was so angry and frustrated.
Don't know what else to do.
And I was getting angry at them being sad, or at them being angry, or at them crying, or and it's a zero-sum game. So I really I know Angie just mentioned it kind of off the cuff, but I really want you to get this. It really changes how you view other people and your children, especially.
Yes. So what was it for me was I was finding myself snapping at them and getting angry really easy, and then frustrated. And that was pretty much my entire day with them. And I was happy when they were at school. The connotation, everyone's like, oh, glad school holidays are over. The kids can go back. Well, I kind of started feeling that way. And then I was like, no, that's not how I want to raise my family. And so when I found that I was practicing the breath with myself, and we tried to force it on them, it didn't work. I'm like, okay, well, let's practice in front of them and make it something that they see us doing first. So when I was angry, I would take myself out of the room and I would breathe my anger, and then I would come back and be able to deal with it.
She made sure everyone heard her doing it.
That's how angry I was.
That's part of it.
That
is part of it. And look, we're telling you how we deal with our family, with our children. It may not be the same for you, but one thing is the same amongst humans, and that is we all get angry, we all have emotions, and we all express them. Some people stuff them down inside and create blockages in the energy and create tension in the body. And we're going to talk about tension in another episode. And this is how tension gets created. So just having a tool, or having a way of being able to release those emotions as they're coming up they don't get trapped in the body.
Yeah. And the first thing for me was I noticed when I was taking myself away, there was a lot of magic that was happening. One, it was creating space. And it was space between me and them, or space within myself, to kind of go, what is going on here? And I could deal with myself, shift my own energy, so that way I could come back and speak to them with clarity and confidence and teach them rather than snap at them.
And just think about that for a moment, because Angie and I sat down and we've analyzed all this and we've thought about it. You start to separate, you start to see the behavior, not the child. You
Yes.
see the
Oh,
little shining light, like I had to learn this for myself. It was quite emotional for me, that I had to learn that I was getting angry at their behavior, and me getting angry at their behavior made it even worse. So you're just trying to push two energies onto each other that were just like two immovable forces, right? Like my girls are exactly the same as me. They are staying where they're staying. And so we were trying to force this instead of first being able to separate it out and seeing, okay, it's a behavior. And now what we do is we ask the girls, we say, can you breathe that out?
yeah.
Can you hand it over to the breath? Can you just hand it over to the breath to just breathe it out? And you know what? It works.
It does.
It
It
works.
does. Yeah.
It works. We had a someone come this morning to do Angie's makeup, because we were doing some filming. And while I was looking after girls and getting them breakfast, the energy was coming up. I was asking Eve, and both Eve and Lila, to breathe it out. And the makeup artist said, wow, you guys really live and breathe the stuff you teach. And I said, do you know what? It's the only stuff that works.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that works. Of all the things that we've tried, this is the thing that works, and it works the fastest. I'm not saying there's other things out there that don't work.
We've tried a lot of things.
Yeah, NLPing yourself and changing all the wiring in your brain and all that stuff, that works. It just takes a long time. It takes a long time. The breath is hardwired into you, and it's the go-to thing for shifting the energy.
And so how it started is basically they saw me managing my own energy. They saw me managing myself, and then they started to learn how to manage themselves by watching me. So I can remember this one time where the girls were fighting and arguing, and they were scratching and hitting and kicking, and that was normal, the everyday stuff that was happening, that I was just so frustrated. I got to the point where I'm like, I'm breathing and I'm relaxing, and I'm like, they're not doing anything different. And I finally just was like, I give up. And I laid down on the floor and I just started huffing puffing right in the middle of this little argument that was all happening. And
huff and puffing, like, technical term for breathing. Technical term for breathing.
Yeah, I was breathing it out, breathing my frustrations out, shifting my own energy in front of them, because I didn't know what else to do. And the magical thing happened. They both stopped dead in their tracks. Now, number one, it's a pattern break. It changes everything. You're not arguing back. You're not trying to force and change. You're just stopping and letting go. So they go, what? This is different. And then they came over to me, and one started patting my head and singing to me, and the other one lies on my belly, the younger one. And while I was breathing, she was breathing too. So we're breathing together. And then all of a sudden I'm crying, because I'm like, finally something that works.
Now, if you are listening to this and you don't have children yet, or you don't have children at all, can you kind of hear that there's something in this for all of us?
It's not just children, and it's with your partner as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we
absolutely.
have an agreement with each other. If our emotions or energy are heightened and we're not operating from a place where we can logically discuss and have an adult discussion, we have to stop and take ourselves away, manage our own energy, and when we're ready, not forced upon each other, but when we're ready, we then come back.
Yes.
And we talk like adults.
It still doesn't mean that when we say to each other, you need to go and breathe, that we don't want to punch each other in the face. Because it's the last thing you want to hear. But when you get into it, and when you get into the power of it, and you will go, and look, I want to be really clear and make sure that you get something really useful out of this, because you've heard us sort of express our opinions and how we manage our family and how we do this. But we're not talking about something that you have to go and sit in a cave for 7 years and meditate to learn this technique. We're not talking about something that is highly guarded, like a martial arts secret that you have to push the master off his perch to learn it and finally get it. We're talking about all you have to do is take a couple of sighs in a row. Like, take as many sighs as you need to move the energy on. Like
Yes.
6, 10 sighs in a row
200 I've
will
done.
move the, it depends on how stubborn you are, will move the energy on. So it's as simple as a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And that is magical. That's magical.
And think about it. We're talking about you doing this. You know, Angie mentioned before breathing in front of the girls, laying down the ground. I mentioned sitting down. Well, you know what? You really know that you got it when you start doing it out in public, in the shopping center,
Yeah.
or somewhere, and the kids are going off, and you just stop and sit down, and start breathing. That's when you know you'll be ballsy enough to do breathing in public and really integrate it into who you are and what you do.
Yes, it's much better than yelling at them in public, I'd
Absolutely.
say. Yeah. Well, and look, I hope you've gotten a few little tidbits from what's worked for us in our family. At the end of the day, it's modeling for your children. It's teaching them how to manage their own energy by mastering your own energy. So I just invite you to just play, have fun, breathe it in.
Yeah, and remember, it's not in the words, it's in the practice.